All the cool people are doing it.
Yeah, having a podcast is like being a DJ back in the early
Yep.
2000s. Everyone's trying to
So
have one.
it looks like we're actually live right now. So if everybody's here, I want to say hello to everybody. My name is Bob Wheeler, and I want to welcome you to the Military Monday for July the 10th. 2023. My name is Bob Wheeler. I'm with ClearedJobs.Net. And once a month, we like to get together with folks to talk about some good tips for military veterans as they're going to transition to get out and just basically kind of prepare the way for you. And we also try to do stuff that's a little bit more than just the run of the mill, cliche talking points. I'm really excited today to have a gentleman by the name of Brian Clarke. He's a talent acquisition guy from Silotech Group out in San Antonio, although they got jobs kind of everywhere. Um, Brian, do you want to say hello and just first tell us about Silotech, and then we'll learn more about you and your career after that. But what's going on with you and Silotech?
Hey, I appreciate it, Bob, and it's a pleasure to be here this morning. It's a beautiful Monday morning down here in San Antonio. I've been working with Silotech Group since March of this year, and that's kind of when I separated. So I'm a recently separated veteran from the Air Force myself. Tell you a little bit more about the company as well. We're a small, veteran, disabled, and woman-owned and operated business headquartered in San Antonio, Texas. And that's currently where I'm located right now. I'm sitting in the corporate headquarters. And we're a consulting agency, and the kind of services that we deliver, we delve into a lot of things, and we're branching out into a lot of things too. So we provide cybersecurity and mission systems, emerging technologies, research and development. We're branching out into artificial intelligence as well. Digital transformation is a big one. A lot of these DoD systems, they're extremely old and aged systems, and we're bringing them up to industry standards with Salesforce and all that good stuff. So digital transformation and modernization is a big portion of what we do. And also just very broad managed IT and security services to federal, state, and commercial clients. We work with the DoD quite often and have a lot of Air Force contracts that kind of stem into, government clearances and government work, but also their commercial side as well.
And you, Brian, you guys have got stuff all over the country too. I mean, you're in San Antonio,
Oh,
but you've got
absolutely.
jobs in what, Hawaii, Florida, I saw, Tennessee, places that
Yes,
you would
sir.
expect, places you wouldn't expect, right?
A lot in the DC area as well. We're
Yeah.
branching out into Florida, and we have a ton of remote work and hybrid work as well.
Yeah. I mean,
One of
Silotech
our
and
biggest one of our biggest contracts deals with a software called Appian, and it's a very niche, development kind of community, and that's 100% remote. Program manager, business analyst, developers, what have you. It's an entirely remote team. We're very proud of that one.
yeah. So while Brian tells us just a really quickly about his Air Force time and how he got to where he's at, if you're here and you're watching us on LinkedIn or whatever, and you see those comment sections, feel free to drop a note in there. Let us know who you are, where you're from, what branch of service you're in, if you're getting out anytime soon. If you have a comment, we can try to get to it while we're doing our conversation. If not, we can always respond back to you afterwards as well. So yeah, hit us up in the comment section. Tell us what's going on. And while they're doing that, Brian, you were in the Air Force. You're a recruiter now, but that wasn't really what you did in the Air Force. And so, how,
Yes, sir.
real
Yes,
quickly,
sir.
how did you get from point A to point B?
Well, I came in and I wanted to make a difference. So I joined the Air Force. I was actually going to join the Army, and my grandfather was a P-38 fighter pilot in World War II, and he said, "You're a smart guy, Brian, so join the Air Force." So that's what I did. Originally tried to get into EOD. I got really hurt in the school there. Kind of hit a hiccup in my career. They said, "Hey, we're either going to medically transfer you out, or we'll try to get you a job in another career field." So and what ended up happening is I went security forces, and so it's basically military police for the Air Force, and I was so excited to do that and jump into it. And my first assignment was at Aviano Air Base, Italy, doing a priority level one nuclear mission overseas, and it was just quite the undertaking. Got so much experience there. Did that for about 2 years, and then I PCS to Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico. So I was glad to go overseas and see the world, right? Because Cannon Air Force Base is in Clovis, New Mexico, and a lot of people aren't happy with that assignment. I definitely made the most of it, and I made the best of it. I actually saw the most success probably in my career at Cannon Air Force Base. Being military police and security forces. I was there for about 5 years. After a year of being at Cannon, I got a 9 month deployment to Afghanistan doing flyaway security missions and also protection details for senators and chiefs. We would go outside the wire and kind of visit the Afghan Air Force and the Afghan Army, see what they're up to, make sure they're kind of following our guidelines while we were there. And after that, I actually became a plainclothes criminal investigator with S2. So I was a bit of an intelligence analyst, and also I investigated crime, which in New Mexico, unfortunately, the crime is pretty rampant there, even though the population's really low in New Mexico. So I think in about 2.5 years, I ran over, I want to say, 140 criminal cases, and that involved going to court martials, and I was working with OSI, the FBI. Sometimes the CIA would come in. I've also worked with the ATF. So yeah, it was such a great experience doing that. It was always what I wanted to do in security forces. It was like that shiny job that everyone
Yeah.
wanted, and I interviewed for it, and everyone kind of recommended me. You have to be vetted, and I was so proud to do that. And then it came time like, hey, do you want to take control of your career, or you just kind of want to leave it to the wind and go where the Air Force sends you? So at that time, I opted into being a military training instructor at basic training. So I put the campaign hat on for about 2 years. Came down here to Lackland Air Force Base. Very demanding job, very very fulfilling as well, making a difference in so many young men and women's lives and giving back. It was a huge undertaking. Hit about 9 years, and I decided I love Texas. I love San Antonio. My whole family moved down here. So I decided, you know what, I did my time, and I'm gonna punch out now because that's what's best for me and that's what's best for my family. And I was gonna do that, and I had faith, me personally, a lot in a higher power to kind of help me with that transition. That's what helped me get to where I am now, and I fully believe that. But what I did to help me, the steps that I took to kind of get the ball rolling, is I went ahead and invested into SkillBridge, which, if any of you veterans are out there transitioning, you need to do SkillBridge. Even if you got the skills and you're marketable and you feel like you're good to go, you can do it up to 6 months before your separation date. So what you can do during that time is, if you want to break out into something you've already done, but use that time to, hey, on your resume, like, look, I've worked for a company for 6 months. I have all these skills, a lot of them. So my director with Crew Training Internationals, who what I went through for SkillBridge, and he started telling me about professional HR certifications, and kind of pointing me in the right directions. And my manager now, Rudy Reyes here at Silotech, he's pointing me in the same direction. Luckily, I was able to get a job kind of without getting those certifications. Luckily, during my time in, I got my AA degree through the community college of the Air Force. I came in with an AA degree, but I also got another AA degree through the community college of the Air Force, which, if you haven't done any of that, it's very simple. All you do is you can go to your local library on base, pick up some of these courses that you need to study for. You don't need to take, an 8-week course. You can basically study for the final exam, take the test for free. And if you pass that test, then you get 3 or 4 college credits towards your AA degree. So if you haven't done that, and you're thinking about getting out, 6 months to a year, get that ball rolling. You can knock it out. It's at your own pace. You can get an AA degree as fast as you want to.
Hey,
And I
hey, Brian.
actually, go ahead. Go
I was
ahead,
gonna
Bob.
say, you did all this great stuff, and you know, you ended up becoming a recruiter, which is interesting because that's something you weren't doing before. And you're also doing a recruiter for with a small, we're gonna say a smaller company. It's not a
Absolutely.
tiny company, but it's a smaller company. I think it's interesting that you did nine or 10 years. That's a pretty tough time to get out. Usually, a lot of people either they get out after like 4 or 6, or they stay till
Yeah,
20. That's a pretty, that had to be pretty scary for you to jump out at 10 years.
it was a bit different. It was a bit different. A lot of people were like, "You're gonna get out now? You only gotta do 10 more years." And I'm like, you know what? You personally, when you're in, when it's time for you. And I don't think there's a number that kind of coincides. I mean, if you're 16, 17, you might as well finish out, right? That's what everyone's gonna tell you. But everyone's different. I had a very successful career, and I was doing great at what I did, no matter what I did. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what I took with me. It's what the Air Force showed me, that it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be good at it as long as
So
you
tell
decide to
us a
do
little
a good job.
tell us a bit more about being with a smaller company. I mean, we say smaller. I mean, in our pre-call here today, we were talking. Silotech is when I talked to these guys last week, they had 180 employees, and now Brian's telling me they got even more because they're just hiring like crazy. I mean, a
Oh
smaller
yeah.
company can have almost 200 employees, right? I mean, that's what. So what's it? What's the vibe like at a smaller company? Is Silotech's been around for a bit too. You're pretty stable.
Yeah, so Dr. Tiffany Tremont actually founded Silotech with her husband Kelly Tremont in 2008. She was in the Air Force then, working in cyber. She's still in the Air Force now, as reserves, and she's actually going to commission here, because she's got her doctorate and all that. I think they're going to start her, at least as a captain or a major. So she's still in, and
That's
she
good.
she's so proud. So, and we actually employ over 64% of veterans. So, we got the small company vibe for sure. I would say we're about 186, but I'm hiring people. I'm the only recruiter for Silotech Group, right? And we're actually thinking about growing our recruiting team here very shortly. And I'm looking at, anything between 12 and 15 different roles that aren't backfills, right? They're brand new. They're contracts that Silotech Group is winning. And I come into corporate, and it's like a little small family in here. My manager sits right next to me. We got our program manager right across the way. Our program manager, Brian McDougald, was a prior Air Force pilot. He flew F-15s. So I'm surrounded by veterans. So for this to be my first experience out of the Air Force, coming into a small company where, Monday through Friday, coming into corporate, it's great.
Yeah.
I
And
wouldn't want anything different at this point. I think Solitech's gonna have to they're gonna have to get sick of me before I decide to leave.
That's great, man.
It's been great.
You know, something whenever we do these pre-calls, one of the things that we really like to do from the ClearedJobs.net perspective is we like to find out what's unique. Like I said, I don't like those veteran transition classes where it's just like sounds like it's the same information that you get every day of the week.
Hmm.
You turn around, it's the same stuff. We like to find something that's new and interesting, or we find things that the guest really is passionate about, either that person or that company. And the Silotech Group website, which you can go to the website and check it out, they've got all kinds of stuff, all the stuff with their veteran stuff. But I was really impressed by their benefits stuff. They really do a good job of leaning into their benefits, and that's what really struck us as we were talking about things, because a lot of times folks coming out of the military, they don't even we take our benefits for granted sometimes while we're in the service, right? Whether it's things like leave or medical or something like that. So we're going to talk a little bit here in the next few minutes about just how the benefits work on the outside, and we'll certainly use Silotech as an example of some of the stuff, but we're also going to want to kind of cover the big picture of like what it means. um,
Absolutely.
you know so Brian, one of the first things is people are going to talk about PTO, paid time off.
Paid
You know,
time off.
this, you know, this in the military, this was leave. And in the military, you get 30 days you get 30 days of leave a year, which sounds great, but then the military, you got to throw in, every federal holiday. Plus, if you're the Marine Corps, I mean, it's a 96 for every federal holiday. I mean, it's like you can't, every time you turn around, you're off for a long weekend. So what is paid time off? How does it work in the outside world? And then Silotech's got an even sweeter gig, I think, when this comes to PTO stuff.
Yeah, so paid time off basically, there's leave balances and things with other companies. I can tell you, what Solitech Group does. So we get all those federal holidays off. We get paid holidays on top of that. Anytime you want to take off, you get paid for that time off. The paid time off is unlimited, and that's on day one. And there's no accrual system. So the day that you join, let's say, you go visit your in-laws in Washington, once a year. That's what I do. I'm like, do I need to save up to get those? I'm going to be gone for a week and a half, and I always, even in the Air Force, I would always leave and do this. I would make my leadership aware. Do I need to earn that? And basically, what we do is, no, you're an adult. Of course, you can't join with Salotech and take every single day off for the rest of forever, right? There's red tape involved to make sure that you don't abuse the system, right? There's a certain amount of hours you need to meet throughout the year, which I'm not aware of off the top of my head, but it's more to like give back to you and make sure that you have the proper work life balance. Like even me, like with the VA, like, hey, I have a VA appointment at this time. Hey, just yeah, we have unlimited paid time off. Or like, hey, it's actually my birthday this month, right? I'm born on July 20th. I'm a July baby. Um, and in the Air Force, I would always work through my birthday, right? Especially as a military training instructor, it's like, well, enjoy your birthday on the one Sunday off we give you because we work 6 days a week. Sorry, you signed
Yeah.
up for this kind of thing. No, I'm good. I'm going to take my birthday off and paid time off. Just put the time in.
Yeah, and that's something that as the PTO stuff, this is and when we talk about all these benefits, there's a difference between salary and compensation. When people come out of the military and they say like, well, how much salary do you need to make? And you're going to look at a certain number. Salary is what they give you monetarily, but benefits, go even farther. And there's going to be
Absolutely.
some companies that are going to have different PTO plans, and a lot of companies. What Brian's talking about there being so unique is a lot of companies you don't necessarily get that PTO right away. You kind of have to earn it, and I would
Mhm.
honestly say that that's probably more the way it typically is. So if someone tells you that you have to earn it, that's not them necessarily being mean as much as more the fact that Silotech is doing this is more of them going above and beyond. But I would say that really for most companies, it's typical you've got to work a certain little bit of time to bank some of that, right? Uh,
Yeah, and what ends up happening is, leave gets denied, which we're all familiar with, being in the military. And then at the end of the year, you got all this use or lose, so you have to take this giant vacation. Otherwise, you lose those days or you sell them back. So we just don't mess with that. We don't have an accrual system, like
yeah.
period.
Yeah. So what about things like healthcare, vision, dental? Again, I mean, I was my 20 years in the Navy. I was a hospital corpsman, so I was a medical person and worked most of it with the Marine Corps. But I certainly know how military medicine works, and I also know that when you're active duty, it doesn't cost you nothing. Even for your family, it's pretty darn cheap. You know, so healthcare, vision, and dental are the kind of things that are very important for as the benefit package when you get out. What's that like? Have you, as a recruiter, are people asking those questions when you're talking about joining Silotech? How important is
You,
this, or when
you'd
does it get brought
be
up?
you'd be surprised, a lot of people are just interested in the salary and they're just interested in the number. But I go ahead and tell them, it's part of my elevator pitch about the benefits that we have along with that salary, because like you were saying, there's a difference between salary and compensation. So our entire benefits package is, of course, health, dental, vision. We do that through MetLife, and you can either kind of get the basic plan, or if you want to get more extensive coverage, let's say like there's doctors that you need, you have a very whatever your condition is, whatever your medical need is, you can pay into a higher plan called a PPO, and you can see doctors that are out of the MetLife network. That way, if you need medical attention that is life threatening, or you need to see doctors fast. You can see doctors out of network, and you don't have to wait 5 or 6 months. So it depends. There's options, right? So it depends on what you and your family need as far as what kind of health coverage that you need through MetLife. So
Yeah,
there's options that you can opt
and
into.
and so I think this is one of the things for when you get into the point of a job discussion, when you're talking to the recruiter and you've met the basic requirements, and they're talking to you about a specific job, and you're saying, I really want to start. Ask the recruiters about the plans and get some get
Hmm.
some of that information ahead of time, especially if you're comparing more than one job, because these are the kind of things that sometimes it's just a better plan, sometimes it's different companies have got multiple plans that you can pick from. But don't be afraid to ask a question. I talk to a lot of veterans who are coming out, and they're senior folks. If they were senior NCOs or they were mid to senior grade officers, they kind of feel like, well, I'm supposed to always have the answers, or I don't want to look stupid. you know don't
Yeah.
wait till the end when you find out, oh yeah, I can't get you, we don't cover vision for your kids, we don't cover dental for your family or something like that, you know and you've already turned down a different job. So ask those questions. Some of the good recruiters will bring it right up, but if you don't understand, make sure that you ask. You guys at Silotech do
Mhm.
these other things, these health savings and flexible spending accounts, which are these, I guess it's a way that can help pay for deductibles and stuff like that. Is that the way it kind of works there, Brian?
So the health savings account, it's basically what it is. It's an easy way to pay for healthcare expenses that you may have today, or save for expenses that you may have in the future. So you, through Silotech Group, I'm speaking kind of what we do. You and Silotech Group will contribute pre-tax money to your account to save for out-of-pocket healthcare expenses. Any money that you don't spend grows year after year and can be used in the future, even after you retire. So if you have like medical expenses and you're paying out of pocket for a ton of things, you can kind of in the beginning of the year pay, if you know you're already going to spend that money, you pay into it, and Silotech Group will contribute as well. And then so if you contribute, let's say like $25 per paycheck, that means there's $600 per calendar year. Let's say you didn't use that money, it'll roll into the next year, and Silotech Group will keep matching you. So it's kind of a way to kind of prepare for those out of pocket expenses, and Solitech Group will match you and help you fund it. So, in addition to the healthcare, and that now you have out of pocket expenses, Silotech Group will assist you in that regard, and that comes with, obviously our health benefits.
Yeah, and those are some, again, if you go like to the Silotech Group page, they've got all this stuff is listed on there, and and you can tell the companies that are trying to lean into their benefits package. I would say Silotech is probably one of those. It's something that they're proud of the fact they're talking to veterans. They're proud of the fact that they've got lots of great benefits. I mean, it just screams it
Yeah,
on
we
your company
actually
page.
we won an award from the Texas Veterans Commission for how many, the percentage of veterans that we hire. I believe it's going to be like a platinum plaque, and we're going to hang it on the wall. And it's a lot of companies don't employ that many veterans, and we make it our goal, to reach
Yeah,
out to veterans. We make that our priority.
yeah.
Sometimes veterans aren't, some of these skill sets that we need for Appian or Microsoft Online. If they're not a veteran, then and they're a great candidate. I'm not saying we only hire veterans, right? But we're
Yeah,
definitely
you're in
proud.
business. You got to make money. You got to make
Yeah.
money. You know, one of the last one I was going to talk about, because you got a bunch of stuff, but there's something else: short-term and long-term disability, which is something that
Mhm.
I wanted to bring this up because, again, if you're coming out of the service, this is something that a lot of people in the service really take for granted. That if you're in the military
Absolutely.
and you get seriously hurt, and again, I was a medic, so I saw this a lot. But if you go on limited duty, or you go like 30 days of convalescent leave, is just like free leave, just go home and you sit there and do, just get better, and we'll keep paying you, and we'll keep paying your family, and you get all your benefits and stuff like that. Same thing with excuse me, with limited duty stuff. You can have 6 months to do all that kind of stuff. Well, that doesn't typically happen out in the outside world there. So
Yeah, in the outside world, if you get injured or you become disabled, a lot of companies, they may or may not terminate you. It's kind of a business thing, right? I wouldn't say it's the right thing to do, but definitely what Silotech Group offers. We offer, like you said, short-term disability, and basically what it is, it's insurance replaces part of your income for limited durations for things such as like pregnancy, childbirth recovery, prolonged illness or injury. Like we took a lot of notes from COVID because people would get long COVID and they would be sick and still testing positive. So we realized that we needed to add these benefits. So let's say you have a surgery and there's a long recovery time with that surgery. The payments may be reduced if you receive other benefits such as sick pay, workers' compensation, Social Security, or state disability. But basically, the plan pays 60% of weekly earnings up to $1,000, and the benefits begin on day one, so 0 days after your disability is claimed. A maximum payment period of 13 weeks. So, it says short term, right? But it's up to 13 weeks. And then
yeah,
any kind of pre-existing conditions and things like that, there's a 3 month look back and a 12-month waiting period.
yeah. But to bring all this stuff up. Like I said, the point of talking these things today is, you know, ask these kinds of questions, and look around. And even if you've got 6 months or a year out, start looking at these people's websites to start seeing, to find out what's the standard, because some companies they're gonna meet the standard. Some companies they're gonna lag behind the standard. They're gonna say, oh, we're gonna pay you lots of money, but we don't have as great a benefits. Other companies might be like, well, our salary is just, it's just average, but the benefits package is amazing. If you don't look at all these things, you're not going to really know what to appreciate. You're not going to know where you're doing things right for, so yeah, that's really really good stuff. Brian, what anything else about the, just before we start? We got a little bit more time left. Is there anything else that we should be knowing about as far as the benefits goes, or just Silotech in general?
Yeah, so actually, we offer health, dental, vision, like I said, our life insurance. So the life insurance is 100,000 for you, the employee, on day one, and that's 100% provided by the company. You don't pay into it. It's something that Silotech Group offers to every single one of our employees.
Wow.
Yeah, so we offer that Silotech Group life insurance. It's completely covered by the company, and that's yours. Now, like I have that, right? Obviously, I don't pay into it. It's offered to me. I accepted that. I want that. The VA, you can also get life insurance relatively cheap, up to 400,000, $500,000, and it's very, very competitive, with any other kind of life insurance that's out there right now. But you can only opt into that, I believe, six to 12 months after you separate. So when you separate, or you retire or whatever have you, get on the VA's website and opt into that life insurance, because you can't beat, 500,000 for, $50 a month.
Yeah.
It's only there for a short amount of time. And then, if you get a job and you're kind of up in the air about benefits and all that, you can keep yourself and your family covered on TRICARE for a year, for 12 months after you separate as well. So that's
Yeah,
another pro tip that I learned when I separated. I don't do that, but it's something that a lot of people ought to think if they don't know where to take their benefits, so they need more time to figure it out. Just so
it's
you're
good to
not put
know.
in a bad
And
situation.
sometimes it's the benefits part that people end up staying in the military longer than they want to, especially
Yeah,
if you've got a
and
family. You're like, well, this is the right time to get out, but I'm afraid of. I've got a spouse and I've got two kids, and one of my kids has got a medical condition that I'm worried about all the time, or my wife's pregnant, something like that. So so really jumping on these things is great. This is another reason why, 'cause going to places like job fairs, for example, can be so great because this is the information when you talk to a guy like Brian that you can't just get looking at a job description. You're looking at these job descriptions and you're seeing stuff and like I'm just going to blindly apply for stuff, or you might say to yourself like why do I need to go to a job fair to talk to people? It's not just that when you go to a job fair that somebody like Brian is there to tell you like, well, you need to have this degree and that certification to get this job. It's to answer these kinds of questions. We do some stuff here at ClearedJobs.net. We've got a virtual job fair coming up just in 9 days from now. It's if you go to the ClearedJobs.net website, you can register and you can chat on those virtual websites, and you can do phone calls and you can do video calls if you want to. Really, really great chance to meet people from a whole bunch of companies. Later on in August 24th, we have a job fair in San Antonio, and Silotech Group's going to be there. So I don't know. Is it just Brian? Are you going to be probably going to be there, or is it going
I
to be
will be
Rudy,
there. I
or
will be
both you
there.
and Rudy together? Or
Me and Rudy, and we might bring our HR manager Hillary Miller down there. So we'll be down there in full force, and we can't wait to meet you.
yeah, like I said, this is the part that when you go there and say, hey, you know what? I saw this thing, but tell me more about this kind of thing. And even if you're not going to get out for a year and you go to a job fair, ask these questions or just ask people like, say, I don't really understand how benefits work. Can you explain it to me? Whether Brian's cool, Rudy's amazing. There's a lot, honestly, if you're a veteran, there's a lot of really cool and amazing people out there that are looking to help you out. If you just ask the questions and say, "Hey, I don't understand this," people will help you to learn about some stuff. Um, so if you're in the comments, you can see some links to those job fairs that are coming up. Like I said, you can always go to ClearedJobs.net. You can create your profile. Not only do we have the job fairs, but people like Brian and Rudy are searching our resume database looking for people, and they've got, like I said, they got positions in Hawaii and Florida and Tennessee and Texas. Well, tons of stuff in Texas. And I believe you're planning on being at the October job fair we've got that's going to be in Tyson's Corner too.
Yep,
Just a
we'll
little
be down
farther
there
out
as
there.
well.
So I don't have the link for that one up right now, but these are the types of things that you can ask the questions for. So we just about hit our 30 minutes, Brian. But dude, it's been a great pleasure to meet you and chat with you and learn about your little story, but also learn what a great company Silotech is, and the smaller company, which has got some pretty great stuff going on. Um, Anything else that we want to say before we tell everybody goodbye?
Yeah, if you're thinking about separating and your mind's made up, start making moves a year out, a year and a half out. It's never too early to start making moves. And if you need somebody to kind of show you the ropes and give you some advice, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to help you.
Yeah, but you can find either one of us. That's Brian Clarke with an E at the end. If you typed in Brian Clarke with an E in Silotech Group, I'm sure he'll pop right on up there. So, like I said, we're at the 30 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and end the broadcast now. But folks who were here, it was great, and keep track of us, and we'll have something else going on probably next month for another Military Monday with ClearedJobs.net. So, thanks, Brian. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much, Bob.
All right,
Take
bye
care,
bye.
everyone.